All right, we are live.
Roll call, please.
Elaine DeRisso. Here. Laura Devlin.
Here.
Ed LeBlanc. Bob Dorinzo.
Here.
Nadine. Here. Ed DeVoe. You have a quorum.
Pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, deletions, reordering?
There are none.
Okay. Approval of the minutes from last month. I need a motion and a second, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the August 21st, 2024 regular meeting of the HRPB.
I can second that.
Is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Swearing in of staff and applicants.
No. I don't believe we need to do that as it's
Yeah, I
just
know, but it
two
was fun.
recommended ordinances.
Okay. Then you don't need proof of publication.
Nope.
No withdrawals or postponements.
None.
Board disclosures, anybody? No, because you wouldn't, because we're only doing ordinances. Okay, new business.
All right. This is ordinance 2024-15, an ordinance by the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 23 land development regulations, article 7 floodplain management, and providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and effective date.
Barry Schultz, building official, city of Lake Worth Beach. So we have the new floodplain maps that are being adopted throughout the county. And in order to stay in compliance with FEMA insurance, we have to adopt the new floodplain maps. They've updated in some areas, especially along Lakeside, and that they've changed the base flood elevation, independent of each individual location. So there's quite a bit of updates. And so our recommendation, knowing this was coming over the last year, has been any new construction in those areas was to meet those elevations. So if you have any questions or any
Yeah,
comments.
so these are the new maps that'll go into place, and the people that don't have flood insurance are going to be in the new zones, and they're going to be required by their lender.
Their lenders will raise their rates if they are not meeting those floodplain elevations.
If I remember correctly, Mr. Ringel spoke to, I think he spoke here. possibly. That line is going to run pretty much up Federal Highway.
Pretty close to it, but I mean, it
It
we have those
deviates a
maps
little
up.
bit.
We could pull those up and we could see those. We have two maps, one for the north, one for the south, that really demonstrates where those lines are.
Because once you have to have it.
So what is the difference? Like, obviously they're getting higher.
Yes,
How
I mean,
much? Like approximately?
Approximately 3 feet in some locations where they were at a base flood elevation of 6 feet. They are now going to be at 9. That had to do with their calculation of the wave action on the intercoastal during storms. So they've updated those.
So right along here, if you can see the cursor is Federal Highway. It does run.
Are you talking about that yellowish orange area? That's what changed? The blue and the orange. What's the difference between the two?
That would be AE, which is a special flood zone. And that most of that area prior to this were at 6 feet BFE, are now going to be at 9 feet. So that line moved further inland and those elevations have risen. And then the yellow action section, I believe, is the X. Is that correct, Andy?
2%. Yeah.
Yeah, the X flood zone. So they've moved that flood zone
get it.
further inland. And those aren't near as don't nearly affect insurance rates as the AE sections do.
Okay.
That's which one?
The AE,
The blue one.
the blue ones.
The blue one is the one that is most, because that's going from 6 feet to 9 feet.
Yes.
Right. But the other one isn't just going up a little, or?
Some areas were not in any flood zone at all are now in an X, but that's like a 1 to 2% chance over a
Mm.
period of time of flooding. Pretty minimal.
Yeah, no.
Mm, You're in the yellow.
I'm in the yellow? Okay.
Yeah, that's federal.
Oh, yeah, where's federal? Federal is
Federal is.
down there. Yes.
Up, it's down, and then it's up.
It's all right there.
Dixie is way over.
West of Federal.
Oh, that far over.
But I'm east.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
East of Federal. This was
Yeah.
coming, I knew it.
So we're now in the blue?
You're blue, yellow. depending on how
I'm
you
kind of, I know,
this
I'm
is.
kind of bordering,
If
yeah.
you don't have it, get it. Mine.
Get what?
Flood insurance.
Yeah, because normally Citizens doesn't,
I mean, if you don't have a loan on, if you don't have a mortgage in your house, don't worry about it. If you
Oh.
do,
I do have mortgage, yeah.
get it, because it's gonna save you money in the long run. Because from what I understand, if you buy the flood insurance now before all that happens, you're okay. They can't raise your rate too much. This is just what I'm told. If you wait till they make you get it, it's gonna be higher. So if you are if this affects you as a homeowner, go get your flood insurance. Mine's about 7.
Crazy.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you.
Scroll again. So how much further up does this go?
To our border.
Yeah, there's the canal. There's the canal there, okay. Yeah, they're just kind of split it across 2 maps. Right, of course. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Schultz?
I'm good.
You're welcome.
So we need a recommendation request here. Oh, on the back.
I did have a question, and I think I figured it out on my own, but just in case. On page 4 of the ordinance, Exhibit A, Chapter 23, Article 7, Section 23.7-2, applicability. It says December 20th, 2024. So assuming that this implications for the insurance begins then, is that correct? Or what is the date? Because that's what, 3 months from now?
We have to
What
adopt.
does that date refer to?
Yeah.
That 12/20, we have to adopt prior to that date. So 12/20 is when the effect or the maps go into effect.
Was that a date
They'll get that.
predicated on anything in particular, or was it just like
Once
towards the end of the year thing?
Once the appeals process on the
Yeah,
maps
I know.
expired, they had a certain number of days after that point
Mhm.
when they went into effect.
Mhm.
So it had to do with when the appeals process
Mhm.
was completed.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh.
Next.
Oh.
Oh, I thought we did it. Oh, no, she started talking. Can I get a motion, please? That's all right.
On here, what
On the
was
back.
it?
I make a motion to staff recommend, that's it. Oh, staff recommendation. Is that what I'm reading?
Back.
Oh, sorry.
Back.
Back. There you go. I move to recommend to the city commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in ordinance 2024-15.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next one, please. Bless you.
Really short meeting.
This is ordinance 2024-13, an ordinance of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 23 land development regulations. Article 1, general provisions, division 2 definitions, section 23.1-12 definitions. Article 2, administration, division 2 procedures, section 23.2-19.1 public neighborhood meeting. Article 3, zoning districts, division 1 generally. Section 23.3-6 use tables and division 2 residential districts. Section 23.3-7 SFR single family residential. Section 23.3-8 SFTF 14, single family and two family residential. Section 23.3-10 MF 20, multifamily and two family residential. Section 23.3-11 MF 30, medium density multifamily residential. And section 23.3-12 MF 40, high density multifamily residential. And Division 3, mixed use districts. Section 23.3-13 MUE, mixed use east. Can't say that without messing it up. Section 23.3-14 DT downtown. Section 23.3-16 MUFH, mixed use federal highway. Section 23.3-17 MUDH, mixed use Dixie Highway. Section 23.3-18 MUW, mixed use west. Section 23.3-19 TODE, transit oriented development east. And section 23.3-20 TODW, transit oriented development west. And Division 4, commercial districts, section 23.3-21 NC neighborhood commercial. And Division 5, industrial districts, section 23.3-23 AI artisanal industrial, and section 23.3-24 IPOC industrial park of commerce. Article 4, development standards, section 23.4-4 fences, walls and gates, section 23.4-10 off-street parking, section 23.4-13 administrative uses and conditional uses, and adding a new section 23.4-26 pools. And Article 5, supplemental regulations, section 23.5-1 signs, and section 23.5-3 nonconformities, and providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and effective date.
Go on.
Get this in plain English now?
All right, so we just heard our city attorney read so many sections that we're modifying. It
Just
sounds a lot scarier than it is. A lot of these, it's repetitive corrections that just have to happen across multiple zoning districts. So kind of the summary of what we're doing that we provided in the staff report. We're adding a definition for accessory storage, clarifying that maximum use area for what indoor storage, when it's accessory or when it becomes a principal use, and revising some definitions for different uses to make sure that we do allow for that accessory indoor storage. So basically, if you have storage that's less than 30% of your business use in your building, that's accessory. It's just clarifying that it's allowed. The use table, a bunch of these are just revisions to correct errors that have happened over time, make sure it matches the rest of the text. Revising some things related to specialty breweries to match the text, allowing those in transit-oriented development east and AI. Similar uses were already permitted there, and those had just gotten missed. Some low-intensity indoor storage uses permitted by right in industrial, getting people able to have those uses without needing to do extra administrative use permits. Creating a high-intensity place of worship use to account for places of worship that are over 7,500 square feet, and revising those institutional uses to, again, match the text, allow museums and environmental nature centers in multiple zoning districts. The public neighborhood meeting, that's, again, sort of a clarifying element, requiring them to have in-person components as part of their public neighborhood meetings. These are for large developments. Roof overhang encroachment, revising language in that huge list of zoning districts, clarifying and correcting it so that it's uniform across all of the zoning districts. The build to line, these two zoning districts, mixed use Dixie Highway, so along that Dixie Highway corridor, and transit oriented development east, just clarifying the front and street side build to lines. Fences and gates, making sure that we're super clear on the permitted height for industrial uses, and then revising the location requirement for gates related to parking in residential, commercial, and industrial. So previously we had a requirement across uses for electronic gates that they had to be set back. I believe it was 25 feet. That's being reduced to 5, with the provision that if the city engineer determines for like a multifamily property that we need some extra space to avoid queuing, that we can do so. Parking, creating a definition and standards for ribbon driveways. Those have been allowed for some time now, but just trying to get more information in our code so that people, have a clearer idea of those. Creating standard dimensions for motorcycle spaces, which again, were already allowed. We just didn't have a standard dimensional requirement for them.
Yeah.
Um,
They're fun.
We put that in.
pools, we're creating a new section. It's not really changing much on the requirements for pools, but we're trying to make it easier again for people who, we've gotten feedback that people are looking to put in a pool and it was hard for them to tell what their setbacks needed to be or how they would relate to any easements that they have. So putting in that section to, hopefully make things easier for everyone. And then just some housekeeping items, revising some definitions, correcting a use approval process for places of worship, clarifying the requirements for what makes a non-conforming lot of record, things like that. So did anyone have any questions about any of the items in the ordinance?
I just had a question about the requirement for there to be an in-person meeting. I guess if we had another COVID situation, what do you do with that? I guess you can overrule that.
I believe so. That would probably be an emergency situation that would function differently, Elizabeth, if we had another COVID situation.
And that's why the language was written the way it was originally, that it would be in-person, virtual, or a combination. I think the feeling is that we're kind of out of the COVID situation now, so we really want to encourage or require the developers to have the in-person component. They can also still do the virtual, but they couldn't do only virtual.
Okay.
So I think if we had another situation where we were going back to virtual meetings, altogether, we would allow that for them as well.
Okay.
I like to talk about off-street parking.
Sure.
That is a problem. And not only that,
Make sure you have your mic on. We can hear your big comments.
not only that, people with handicap disabilities. With all this off-street parking, they don't have accessible to their residents. So tell me about that. As far as what code you have written in there for that?
So what we're amending right now would be clarifying the ribbon driveways. And then in terms of the spaces, we're clarifying that dimension for the motorcycle spaces. And then for the handicapped or ADA spaces, we're just clarifying the requirement that was already there in the building code for a 5-foot wide designated access aisle. So when a property, wants to be, let's say a multifamily property is being built and they have a requirement to have one or more ADA accessible spaces, we're just clarifying that they have to have that access aisle. It's that diagonally striped section right next to the space so that someone can, get by without, being right next to another car. So that's what we're clarifying here.
Okay. And far as access on off-street parking for the people, for the residents that live there, you have any kind of what is the place for that? Far as
Do you mean on-street parking?
on-street parking,
Okay.
sorry, thank you, on-street parking.
I don't believe that you can have
Anybody
parking
first
as an
come, first serve.
accessible.
First come, first serve. You did something up at the Gulfstream on Gulfstream where they have a no parking over there on Gulfstream.
I believe the Gulfstream has an area that they have for themselves as a valet parking area.
Is-
Like the area that cuts in along Lake Avenue.
It's between First Avenue and Lake Avenue and First Avenue, yeah.
I'm not sure. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Don't they have an area there where there's on Gulfstream that solely for Gulfstream residents only on
The hotel or the Gulfstream
Gulfstream
condos?
condos? The
Yeah.
condos do, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, do you think that's fair? for them to have it and the people over there on Ocean Breeze not to have it. I'm not trying to be,
That's a separate discussion.
yeah, but see, that's a discussion, but that's still off-street parking.
But that's not what, nothing is
But
changing
I know you,
for that on this ordinance,
I,
Off-street parking is, I mean, the thing you clarified what this ordinance changes, right?
but aren't we doing housekeeping tonight?
That wouldn't be a housekeeping
That's
item.
not-
That would be a larger discussion that would probably need commission involvement.
Yeah. There
I
needs to
think
be
I
a
thought,
meeting
I
on that.
thought I saw a commissioner.
That, and I'm looking at the map right now, I won't say definitively, but it appears that the parking in between Gulfview and Lakeside, between Lake and First, for the Gulfstream condos is on their property. It's not in the road or in the alley. It's on the property. That's what it looks like on the
That
map.
what it looks like. What it appears and what it is two different things. Yeah. But you know, I'm just saying. What's good for one is good for all. And we should have ordinance, like you're saying, we're doing housekeeping here, that benefits those residents that lives there in the front of 202, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that nobody could come, first serve. Because you have some people that's handicapped and disadvantaged that need their parking space when they bring their groceries in their house. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, if there's some rectification, we can do this while we're doing all this housekeeping. We should get all this housekeeping done at one time.
Appreciate your comments. But as Annie indicated, that is a much bigger discussion, and I would
Well, you know what?
encourage you to talk to your commissioner, and we'd be happy to sit down with you and the commissioner and talk about, you know, broader and probably bigger changes. Because as I indicated at the last meeting, there's no guidance from the commission yet to do really an overhaul of the off-street parking section. We're just kind of really, a lot of these amendments that these proposed revisions are kind of acknowledging real world stuff that we're dealing with at a staff level for a building permit review and development review. And we're really just codifying it. We're really just, you know, put in the code.
I'm not beating you up, my friend.
No, I know you're not.
No, you're not, don't do that. I understand,
How to pursue that, you know, let's
you know,
pursue that the right way.
I
'Cause this isn't the meeting.
I understand. I understand. If you don't raise these issues,
Yeah, but you're raising it with
well, I understand.
person.
Well, then you,
No, you're
Well,
raising it with the city commission.
why do we bring these housekeeping things?
This is for them, for their terminology.
I understand. Okay. Like I said, I'm not beating you up, you know, I'm not, that's not my intent. But it's just something that's need to be addressed somewhere down the line. And I would say this here, staff. I do appreciate you guys, especially when you're doing something with FEMA. I read that in FEMA, I had to look twice. So, you know, that's a blessing that we're trying to get on track. You know, there's a lot of things we have to do, you know, and sometimes it's not the form, you know. When is the form?
May I ask,
The-
oh, never mind.
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna let you all know that the city is undergoing a parking study, so any comments on on-street parking and off-street parking would be a really good, that during that parking study is a really good time to bring those ideas and concepts up.
And when is that?
It's ongoing. I'm not sure what the schedule is for it, but we can bring you an update at your next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Let's get a recommendation, please.
Okay, any other questions
So
on?
I do have one more question. I
Yeah.
was surprised at the jump from the setback of 25 feet to 5 feet. That seems huge.
We agree.
That's for the electrical fences,
Yeah,
electrical
so-
gates?
So as you recall, the LDR was initially indicated that for electronic gates, 25 feet, and for manual gates, 5 feet. So this was brought before City Commission, and they recommended guidance on changing that. So this is what we're doing. And we did want to make sure that there was a mechanism for staff to review if needed to look at the 25-foot a 5-foot setback on an electronic gate.
That's cool.
So make it the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a case about this recently, didn't we?
And what was the rationale for having the difference in the first place?
I believe the rationale for the electronic gates was concern of stacking. When it came up, a case went to the planning and
what?
zoning board, I believe that was related to that. It was brought up that a manual gate, you would have to get out and move yourself anyways, so stacking would still.
What do you mean stacking?
Sorry, so like, blocking traffic, cars piling up
Yeah,
in a line to
stacking.
get into a residence or a
Oh,
space, yeah.
so like a car was coming through. Got it. Okay.
Wasn't there also issues with the, whatever the I can't remember the terminology, whatever the mechanical stuff that's needed to make the gate open and close, to have it be close to the road?
I don't recall that being an issue, but I'm sure, that's, part of the reason the 25-foot setback. But Public Works has been applying that, not all the time, but in some cases where the queuing can interfere with the traffic flow on the road.
Okay.
And if it were like a walk-through gate that might have a buzzer, is that also considered electronic?
As amending it, the distance is specifically for gates leading to a driveway or parking spaces.
Okay.
So in this case, a walking gate would not be.
Wouldn't even be in that category.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
I got one little small one. I love it. The alleyways for parking. Are you guys doing anything that for the improvement of the alleyways? So like if someone built a residence right there, do they have to approve the right of way of the alleys?
In some cases where we have non-residential development or large residential along the alleyway, Public Works has required that that portion of the alley gets improved.
Can I, so that it's on Public Works. Why isn't that? Forget about it. That's a question for somebody else.
Any other questions?
Yes, can we talk a little about the setbacks for the pool? I know that could be a ongoing issue for us, people having design modifications, presentations.
Yeah, so sort of similar to what Scott was saying with the parking, a lot of this isn't necessarily changing. It's just kind of putting it in one space together, so it's hopefully easy to find and understand. So the pool setbacks, generally they've been treated as similar to an accessory structure. So the 5-foot rear, 10% of the side, minimum 3, has been what we've been applying and will continue to stay that. We did clarify the dual frontage properties, having a 10-foot setback from the kind of second front, which we do see sometimes. We would see waivers or variances for things like that. And then, yeah, just clarifying the at-grade deck or patio versus a raised deck or patio. If it's raised off the ground, we had one on North Lakeside, I think, in the past few years, that was like 4 or 5 feet off the ground. That needed to meet structure setbacks. So we're clarifying that here, that if you just have, pavers on your in-ground pool, that can be closer to those pavers can be closer to the property line than, a wood deck effectively.
Thank you, Annie.
Ready to make a motion? Everybody good? All right. I move to recommend to the City Commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in Ordinance 2024-13. All agree?
Second.
Everyone agrees? Yes? Aye. All right.
Aye. For the record.
Does that conclude?
Yeah.
had no planning issues. It looks like we have no members of the public here for public comments, and we had no department reports. So unless
Right.
you all have anything?
I was looking at my notes from last time and it said there was gonna be. You're off. No, you're fine. Thanks. Appreciate that. In my notes last time it said there'd be like 4 things that were gonna come before us this time.
There
I-
were, one project,
She's good.
it got dropped, no longer needs to come before you all. These 2, and then, 1 or 2 others got pushed to likely October.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's the date for the October meeting?
for 9th.
October 9th.
And just also to add to that, we had a couple of additional LDRs that might have gone this month, but one is getting pushed to October. Actually, they're both going to get pushed to October.
Mhm.
So you'll see 2 more in October.
Thank you.
We're good? Adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we're good. All right.
All right.